the economy, and I think across the world generally. So it's important that we all work hand in hand, as opposed to thinking selfishly. Work hand in hand in order to make life better for ourselves. I hear people often say that Nigerians are the biggest problem of Nigerians. So if we all think about ourselves, then we'll always have issues. But if we can think about the country as a whole and think about other people, put others first, then perhaps we'll have, a better Nigeria. All right, talking about a better Nigeria, today I'm going to be talking about something really interesting. By the way, I'm Ronke Giwa Onafuwa. Thank you for joining me today. And of course, I hope that I will have time for you to also contribute on this topic, because we're talking about the topic of communication. Oftentimes, I've had issues with how our governments communicate or how our leaders communicate. Sometimes it feels that our leaders take communication for granted. Oftentimes I watch maybe like a press conference or some town hall meeting held by a president or a governor or just a political office holder, and I'm often asking, do they have people working with them on communication? Do they have public relations professionals working with them on how they come off, how they are perceived? Because sometimes it really does feel like our political office holders take so much for granted. So they feel, you can just come and just say anything to people and you can get away with it because there's no accountability. Nobody's going to call you out on the fact that, hey, you are you're a public servant. And so you shouldn't come out and just say whatever you like to your people. How you communicate is just as important as what you communicate, So oftentimes when we ask the questions, how, should our government communicate? We ask the question, should our government have public communication strategies? I've got somebody who will be able to answer some of these questions for me this morning. Her name is Adedoyin Jayesimi, and I actually met her first from a publication that she did on LinkedIn. Adedoyin Jayesimi is the Chief Communications Consultant at the Comms Avenue, a capacity building and networking platform for communications professionals. The Comms Avenue currently has over 550 communications professionals from Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, Kenya, Zimbabwe, the United Kingdom, the United States, and Canada in its niche community, and offers high-level knowledge-sharing meetings and training programs for communications professionals and corporate organizations. He's the author of the book From Clueless to Success, a collection of 20 backstories from her journey as a communications professional. And I will be having a chat with her this morning, and it will be an interesting one. And like I said, I hope I'll also be able to include you on this conversation. This conversation is telephonical because she's obviously not in Ibadan. She's all the way in Lagos, and I've been very impressed by her publications and the work that she's been able to do with Comms Avenue as well. Hi, Joey. So let's just hang on for us a minute. I'm just trying to put you on our phone system so that people can hear you even better. All right, so just hang on for us a minute. Adedoyin Jayesimi is already online, and I will be having a conversation about communications with her. If you also feel like sometimes, how our public office holders communicate is problematic, then I'm sure, I hope I'm connected already. It's not connected. I hope this is off. How our public office holders communicate is problematic, then I hope that you also maybe sending a text. If you also have a question for her, I'm just trying to connect this real quickly, and then I will have this conversation with her. In her article that she published on LinkedIn, you can actually go and follow her. She's Adedoyin Jayesimi on LinkedIn, and you should definitely follow her. Some of the key points I noted from her article, as we try to bring her on, is what she says about how communications. Hello, hi, Adedoyin.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Really great to have you here. Well done on the work that you're doing. Great job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just read your profile and I will looked at the number of people you've been able to converge on your Comms Avenue platform. How did Comms Avenue start for you?
It started last year. I'm doing a transition in my career to the public sector space, But then I had to shut down. I was running a communications agency. So I started to wonder, what do I post on my LinkedIn page since I'm in the transition space right now? So I started sharing about my experiences running a communications agency for 3 years. And then I would get so many comments, DMs, people asking me questions. You know how social media, it can get overwhelming.
Right.
So I said, okay, how do I do this more effectively? So I said, okay, let me invite everyone for a brunch. Let us talk about comms, the challenges and advice and all of that. But then lockdown happened, so we couldn't have that event. And then I said, okay, let me create a community. And that's really where it started from.
Wow, phenomenal. And that community has grown to what, over 500 people
Over
from
500
different
now.
parts of the world as well.
Yes.
Wow,
yes.
That's phenomenal. And I like that you talked about your transition from the private sort of sector to public sector, you said. And so what have you found to be the major difference?
Well, the major difference is that private sector, there's some sort of a plan and there's some sort of recognition of the importance of communication. I mean, it's still growing, but there's a plan, there's an understanding that we have a message and we need to connect with our target audience. While in the public sector, it feels like communications is an afterthought. It's like, what is this social media thing? Why do I need to communicate or have media training? Or why do I need to understand the audience I'm going to speak to? So it's almost like you're trying to convince them of the importance of communication. Right. Meanwhile, private sector, they kind of have an understanding already.
Absolutely. Well, with regards to public sector, which we're going to focus on a bit more this morning, do you think that Nigerians generally underestimate what goes on in, the public sectors, for example? Oftentimes, do you think we're asking too much of our political office holder? In your publication, which I read on LinkedIn, where you talked about how many times you said you've reviewed public sector communique and briefing notes, and what you ask is, what will the audience that you're communicating understand what you're trying to say? I know that politics in Nigeria and public service is complicated. Would you say that too, or would you say that people just underestimate what goes on in the public sector?
I don't think people underestimate it. I think that the problem is that there isn't a clear communication. So what you have is this documents that go out, bogus English. You're not even, you're educated, but you can't even understand what it is that they're trying to say. Meanwhile, communication is about you're saying something and the person that you're communicating to understands what you're saying from their own perspective and from their own place and position. So you then have them speaking in big, robust language, talking over our heads, and the citizens they want the basics. And you know how they say social media age, people just want to have the quick points. So you have this full, sometimes you can have a document that is about 10 pages, but what are the highlights? There's no landing page, there's no infographic, there's no fact sheet to tell you what are the key highlights or talking points from this brief. And that's where the problem really is.
Right. And so do you think it's a matter of not caring for the people, or not knowing how to communicate, or not knowing what to communicate? Because, I mean, if you care for your people, then you want to be understood. So do you think, let's start from there, is it a matter of not just caring and just throwing information out there? Because, I mean, who cares what you even think about what I've just said? Just, this is it. I said what I said. Do you think that's true?
I mean, I don't work internally, so I don't want to say that they don't care, but I would say maybe it's the how of it. Because if you haven't paid attention to something for so long and you're not surrounded with professionals that can help you to do that, then there's going to be a gap. So in the private sector that we have spoken about, you will notice that there are communications departments. There is a corporate comms officer. There's somebody handling social media. There's somebody handling customer relations. I don't know so much for our government. Who are the people training them? Who are the people telling them this is how this should be communicated? This is how the talking points and the key messages you should say on this platform. This is how you should answer to these interview questions. That is missing at the moment. So they may care, but if they don't have the person that helps them to bridge that gap, it's going to be obvious.
Right. Because there you also say there's a how-to communications that public sector officials do not have expertise in. So obviously it's not something they should DIY. This should be outsourced. And so what is the how-to? I'd like to ask you.
So definitely it should be, because so there's media training, for example. You don't just go to a platform. So I use the example of the Nigerian Economic Summit. A lot of times I would just be at the back and say, did he just say that? Such things, you have somebody that briefs you on the subject, on the theme,
Right.
on the key messages. How do you position yourself? And then also researching the platform. So this is a national platform. This is a local platform. This interviewer. This is the slant of the questions. If the questions get tough, because I know that sometimes we do ask our politicians hard questions,
Yes.
which is fair enough. But this is how you should answer it. This is how you shouldn't sound out of touch with the people. And if you're asked a question that you don't have an answer to, this is the way you should answer. And that media training, I don't think it's being done well enough.
Okay, and who should be in charge of this? I mean, how do they go about? Let's say you're giving advice to perhaps the president, for example. How do they go about this media training? What's the right way to do this?
I believe that the special advisors that I whether media or
exactly.
I don't have the.
Yes. Hello, hi, how are you doing? Oh, all right, we've lost a call for a second. Let me see if I can get her back. Hello? Okay, let's try and get her back. All right. Hello, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay, it's just the line was just cutting off for a minute there. Hello?
You hear me well now?
Not very well. Still a little static. Hello?
Hello?
Let me call you back. Let's do this again. All right, for those who are just joining me, I am talking to Adedoyin Jayesimi, and Adedoyin Jayesimi is a communications professional. She's done a fantastic job in creating a platform for people in communications, and she wrote an article which is actually what brought about me bringing her on here this morning. She's the chief communications consultant at the Comms Avenue, a capacity building and networking platform for communications professionals. She's talked about how there's a how-to in communication that public sector officials do not have expertise in. So my conversation with her really is about how to go about this. Hello, Adedoyin, are you here? Okay, I can't send to hello. Okay, let me find. Hello, what are you doing? Okay, let's take this back. Hello? Okay, that's not working. Okay, let me put her on speaker. All right, great. All right, so glad to have you back here. Thank you very much for being here once again. I think that before you were cut off, we're talking about, so how they're supposed to have special advisors who are supposed to ensure, that the communications training is done, and let's say president, for example, comes up right, etc. I think that's what you were saying. Hello. Oh, sugar. All right. The network is we're having a bit of an issue with the network. Let me take a commercial break. Okay, she says she can hear me, but I can't hear her. All right, so let me take a quick commercial break. Let's sort this out, and then we'll have her back on. I want to have a conversation with her, not just, we're not talking from the federal level, but state level as well. There are certain times that, our governments can definitely do more in order of communication. So we'll take this short commercial break. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Oh yes, ShopRite, their big red carnival don't land yo. And this time or more, they want to scatter all those big prizes. Come help una save more money on top things they like. Super Commando 300 ml energy drink for 119 naira 99 kobo and 780 850 ml 5 alive juice. All the variants for 359 naira 99 kobo. You fit win up to 50% come up for your shopping with ShopRite, their big red carnival. Just buy any 3 products them, other things them when follow. Check the buy me and stand to win icon where they inside the flyer them. Conditions follow. All this price then go last till June 27, 2021. ShopRite. That's the price when you fit trust all the time.
Hey, Michael, how's life? Life is great, Frankie, but it's really hectic, man. Right from when I leave for office in the morning to the long hours I spend at work, and then the traffic snails while coming back home, leaves me feeling tired and stressed all the time.
Guy, I can totally relate to that. I've found a solution. Revital. Revital combines the power of Panax ginseng, 11 vitamins and 9 minerals, and is clinically proven to fight tiredness and stress. Revital, physically active, mentally alert. A quality product from Rambaxi, a Sun Pharma company.
It is time for celebration. 30 years bustling with goodness. No challenge can ever stop us. You can't underrate us. You can't underrate. Mountain Guinness.
bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn ó yẹ kó kọ́kọ́ kan ní kẹ́.
ta ló sọ yẹn èmi ṣe ń ṣe pásítà tèmi nìyẹn o àti pé golden penny ni pásítà tí kì í lẹ̀pọ̀ kò sí ìyọnu.
àmọ́ èmi fẹ́ ṣe pẹ̀lú ṣàjẹ́ àti oríṣiríṣi àtàkà tí kò kún àti rúworo.
gbádùn golden penny pasta bó o ṣe fẹ́ a ṣe golden penny pasta pẹ̀lú èpo àlìkámà durum wheat tó ní protein tí kì í sì lẹ̀pọ̀ o ní àǹfààní láti sè é bù tàbí jẹ bó o ṣe fẹ́ nítorí pé kò ní lẹ̀pọ̀ pẹ̀lú golden penny pasta bó o ṣe fẹ́ ló dáa jù.
Here, Papa Obi. Now, wetin dey shake you again like leaf? Chai! Sweater and handkerchief never come off from your hands since I marry you.
Na cold and kata again, oh.
I don't tell you, say make you take Procode, but in the form of big man.
Why Procode, my dear?
Make you know what comes to road. Procode get paracetamol and phenylephrine for effective relief from cold and catarrh within 20 minutes.
Mama Obi, I dey kampe now.
Now, Orange Drugs Limited distributor. If symptoms never stop after 3 days, make you waka go see your doctor.
Procode, now better medicine.
Take Procode. Take Procode. Procode. Take Procode.
Good night, Susan.
Oh, good night, sir.
Hi. You need it when? Okay, we'll get it done. Guys, we can't leave. We've got to finish the client's order tonight.
Tonight? This time?
How about some top tea to cheer us up?
Tea. Top tea.
Only one bag of Top Tea makes 2 strong cups. So taste to know more flavor, enjoyment,
Great.
friendship, and upliftment.
Wow, this looks gorgeous.
Taste to know. Top Tea.
Sense so fresh.
I feel the freshness. I got the confidence. With the liquid fuel chewing gum, not Santa Fresh. I'm feeling good. I feel so yes, I feel so fresh. I feel so fresh. I got confidence. Santa Fresh. The correct chewing gum, not Santa Fresh. No darling with Santa Fresh.
Sense fresh chewing gum. Trust the freshness.
When you come into the Glow Cafe, you're in for a world of treats. Not only can you monitor all your voice and data usage with ease, buy, share, borrow, and gift data and airtime in the smoothest ways, pay for any services of your choice using your airtime or your bank card, and manage or change your tariff plan to any plan you prefer seamlessly. You can also add friends, get sweet rewards, and so much more. Oh, and don't forget, if you ever need to recharge outside the Glow Cafe app, just dial star 805 hash to purchase airtime or data through your bike. So, step into your Glow Cafe today.
Or download the Glow Cafe app today. Glow Cafe, where it all goes down.
What do you need na safeguard?
Children that like to play.
Them like to play.
Small pigs that must jolly. Oh.
Them like to jolly.
But remember one thing. Protect them with safeguard too. Protect them with safeguard. Protect them with safeguard too. From the teen and yama yama. So the future go better.
Safeguard antibacterial soap. They come out every yama yama for body. It also they available for 50-gram size.
Welcome back. It's still the Morning Splash with yours truly. I'm Ronke Giwa Onafuwa. I hope you're having a beautiful Tuesday morning, wherever it is you're listening to me from. This morning, we're talking about communication. How important is communication? Is how you communicate as important as what you communicate? Or, do they go pari passu? Meaning that it's not just what you say, but how you say as well. I've got the Chief Communications Consultant at the Comms Avenue, a capacity building and networking platform for communications professional. Adedoyin Jaisimi has over 9 years of creating and implementing communication strategy, and she works with organizations and senior executives to strategically communicate their brand message for impact and visibility. And she's here with me, and we've been talking about how our government at different levels communicate, or at least maybe not very well. And in your article, Adedoye, welcome back, by the way. Thank you very much for
Thank
sticking
you very
around.
much.
All right, in your article, you also alluded to the fact that our government currently lack a cohesive communication strategy. And you say that seeps into ministries, departments, and agencies across different levels. What did you mean by that?
Okay, so one of the things that I had noticed was you would have a government agency that would post something on Twitter or some social media platform. And then the next day they say, oh, we're sorry, this is not what we meant. So I asked myself, how do you post that without not meaning that? Or a contrary agency comes to say, no, we're the ones in charge of it. So it then spoke to me that there isn't unity, there isn't one voice, and that comes from a place of a lack of strategy or policy. So that means that if we want to announce this policy, what are the key stakeholders that need to be involved? What are the messages that we need to pass across? Who are the people that we need to bring on board to be in alignment? Because it's not a good look for government agencies to be arguing on Twitter, to be saying, oh, we're sorry, that's not what we meant. It almost seems like they don't know what they're doing, but you've taken so much time to think about this policy. And so what you were saying before about communication and the how is you have this policy that you have thought about, I hope, but then now you're communicating it, you're not doing it effectively. It then brings the question, was this policy well thought out in the first place?
Absolutely. And so that's obviously detailed. So what does detailed communication strategy look like? If we had maybe perhaps, a government, let's say in the state level, where there's a detailed communication strategy, what would that look like?
So a detailed strategy says, this is what we aim to communicate. Our governments are going to be saying 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. When it comes to policies, this is the process. When we are creating the policy, and I always advocate for public sector is try to involve the voice of the citizen, because what causes disenfranchisement or citizens to feel out of touch with government is that they wake up one day and they see something and they're wondering, did they even consider us in this policy? So in the policy creation process, in your strategy, how do we then involve the citizens? How do we take on board their concerns? Do we want to do town halls? Do we want to do polls? That depends on what the policy is. Then the next step is, who are the people that are going to be affected by this policy? And that's the audience, because not every policy affects everyone the same way. So what channels do we then reach them? If social media would reach some people, radio is some other people, then how, in terms of when we want to announce this policy, how many days? Is it a one-day thing? Is it a thing of, let's announce the policy, let's create a fact sheet that people can go to on a website that gives them the highlights? If they have concerns, where do they put their concerns? Because communication is a two-way street. We want to be able to get their feedback. So that detailed strategy gives that overall plan for all the parastatals and governments. And then individually, they can then decide, okay, this would work best for this policy or this thing that we're trying to achieve. But there needs to be a unified approach to how we're going to be engaging with our citizens using communication.
Right. But do you think that Nigeria is sort of like a complicated, because oftentimes there seems to be damned if you do, damned if you don't. So do you think it's even possible that this communication strategy, let's say in an ideal communication strategy, would still be able to please everyone, where everyone feels like, oh, I feel, communicated to? Because, if you know what's going on these days is, people are calling for segregation where they feel like, oh, the president is not for me, he doesn't speak to me, he doesn't speak for me. Do you think there's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation where no matter what, there are still just some people who will not feel like you are communicating to them?
I always like to look at the bright side. And I feel like if you begin to make an effort, yes, there will be some people that may say, oh, what are they trying to do? But if you begin to make efforts in the right direction, over time, more people, you will get the buy-in of more people. What we have now is that we haven't built a cohesive strategy that involves everybody. So everybody feels this doesn't involve me, this government doesn't care about me. But if we start with the low-hanging fruit and then begin to work the way up, I think soon enough, you will have the buy-in of everybody. I speak about country branding a lot. And why do you think nations of the world, the Western world, their citizens are so proud? It's not that their nations are perfect, if you think about it. But their governments have been able to create this brand. There's this confidence they have in their countries, and maybe, so to speak, in their government that we've not been able to achieve, not even just in Nigeria, but in Africa as a whole, which is another reason why Comms Avenue is so important to me, because we're telling communications professionals across Africa, let's think about how we communicate Africa to the world. And it starts by engendering that pride in being African. And our government has a key role to play in that. So when you start involving people, bringing them in, saying, okay, your voice matters. Let's hear what you have to say. Soon enough, you will get their confidence as well.
Right. Do you think I can imagine, because I know that obviously our governments have people who are working with them in communication. But do you think, for example, the last interview that the president had, I think was with Arise Television, where he even made statements like, oh, the youth should behave themselves. I find that it's not that they don't have people who are telling them what to say and what to do, but it's just because I know there are certain people who work. I know people personally who work with this government. And I feel like to have someone brilliant like this, and this is what we're getting. Do you think it's a matter of that the communications people are not doing their job, or that perhaps their principal or client is not listening?
That's really hard to say, because like I said, I'm not in there. But even from my experience in the private sector, sometimes you would give, you will brief maybe a senior executive and give talking points, and they say something else on the stage. That happens.
Right.
So that would be the case. Right? That would be the case of this is how this person is. But what I have learned, because I always see every situation is, okay, how do I achieve my objective, even if this person doesn't like to follow the script? Is to understand, what do you like to talk about? How do you like to talk about it? And making sure the person sees and understands the reason why they need to communicate in a certain way. I've seen that when you bring evidence in terms of data, in terms of facts, in terms of, look, this is not good for your image, this is not good for your goals and your objectives, you tend to get their buy-in. So studying the person and understanding the person is so critical. Some people don't like to be told, say this. So it's like, okay, what do you like to say? You want to appear this way. There is a better way. There is a higher way. And they begin to get their buy-in. So I won't say they're not doing, because I'm not there, I don't know. But they need to be seem to be doing their job, because now it's not looking good on them at all, to be honest.
Absolutely. I mean, like I was referring to the interview that the president did recently, where we're saying, people need to behave themselves. Youths need to behave themselves if they want better jobs or something to that effect. I mean, why is it that we don't have people who are behind? I mean, if in a sane climate, in fact, because we know that even presidents abroad, Barack Obama's, oftentimes they don't write their scripts or they don't write their speeches. There's always something. So even when they say certain things, the people are side-eyeing, their script writers. But in this case, we don't see many people that we can say. We just think, oh, the president is certain. But then there are people who are behind him, who are writing his scripts, who are supposed to be helping him communicate. For him to say that kind of thing, how would you, if you were working for Mr. President, for example, what would you do in that situation?
Honestly, it's to go into damage control, because what has been said, and we're in the era of social media. The backlash will have been a lot. But again, goes back to the point of not having a strategy, because even our official presidential website, there really isn't much. If I was to be there, it's to do damage control and put out information on the website that puts what he's trying to say in context. I know it almost seems like, well, it's a lost cause, but at least make an effort. And then try and communicate to him as to why this wasn't the best cause of things to say, and maybe do some other kind of interview to cover. Because you have that with some leaders of the world, where they come back or they come and do another broadcast to explain what they meant. It's not the ideal situation, but it's damage control.
I know. I just always feel like Nigerian politicians would be so hard to work with. I mean, work with the president who has this kind of mentality, who already feels like, young people, youths are just reckless, whatever people. It would be such a hard job. Or do you think that I'm just not good enough at my job if I cannot help somebody who, maybe someone like our president, who is a certain way, thinks a certain way, and would it be that I'm not good at my job, or would you also feel like it would be tough to work with a political office holder who thinks a certain way, who's elderly? You know how most of our elderly people think. So would you feel like if you're working with someone like that, for example, and you're not able to sort of direct him to speak the way you would want it, would it be that you're doing a bad job, or it's just that there are just certain people who cannot be helped?
I don't think there are people that cannot be helped. I think that when you're working with public leaders, either in the public sector, private sector, is to first even understand who do they listen to. Because you're right, when you're a young person, it's like, what's this person saying? But there are people that they listen to. There are people that they respect. So what I usually do, I do a stakeholder analysis of the person I'm working with. Who are the influential voices around them? Who can I speak to that can speak to somebody that can speak to somebody and speak to the person? It's a long route. But you need to, as a communications professional, if part A is not working out, what are my other options to achieve my objective? And that's the way we think. Because at the end of the day, it rubs off badly on you.
Right.
So this person is tough, this person is not listening. How can I get them to listen?
Right.
And in worst case scenario, you can't get the person to board. I think it's time for you to leave.
Right, absolutely. I mean, what are the metrics as well? Because just this morning I was reading a news story, and I guess Nigeria is so huge that there are people who would say, oh, the president is doing such a fantastic job. And on the other hand, there are people who say he's done nothing. You know, the president himself gave himself a pat on the back this morning in a newspaper. What are the metrics to measure if, somebody is communicating? Because there are certain cases where everyone's saying this person is not communicating, and then the person says, we are doing this, and we have taken 10 million people out of poverty, and we have done that and done that. What are the metrics?
So first of all, it's important to do a sentiment analysis. We see from different perspectives. So what is good communication to you might be bad to somebody, but the overall sentiment analysis, not even based on a certain event, but the mood. Now, what a Nigerian thing, what is the pulse of the nation? It's not very positive if you're going to be honest with ourselves. And so you have to look at, okay, what is causing this sentiment? And then in terms of, they say these 10 million people, they've done this. It's how these things are documented, are communicated is where I find that there is a gap. Because I've worked with non-governmental and development organizations, and you're able to track every single money. This person was giving 50,000 naira, did XYZ in the space of 5 years. I can trace the person's story. All of it is well documented. But we have figures, 10 million people. Where are they? Who are they? What are they doing? Where were they before? And, there's just no story around these people. I remember I worked on a project 3 years ago for a brand, and we literally went to different states across Nigeria to interview some of their beneficiaries. It was so empowering to see how 20,000 and 30,000 really helped a family, but they could trace these things. So when you come up with these figures and the figures are faceless, it feels like you just got it out of nowhere. So it's how do we track these numbers? How are we telling their stories? How are we showing how they move from point A to point D based on the benefits or the inputs that they got from government? That is often lacking. So you give the money and you go home, and then you come back with figures. Who is monitoring? Who is evaluating? Who is saying, let's course correct here? So that gap is still there. So when those numbers come, you don't have the right metrics because you were not documenting at the same time. And then where are all of this information kept? Can I go to one website and get an information of how much this government has disbursed, to whom, when, and in what way? I know the answer to that.
Right, absolutely. Wow. I mean, Adedo, you've done such phenomenal things. I mean, in your career, you have executed projects for Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, African Philanthropy Forum, Fountain of Life Church, the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, Heritage Bank, the W Community, Spectre. What I mean, for anybody who's listening, who's trying to get into communications, what exactly is the work of communication, especially that you do in the private sector? My time is almost up.
Okay. I'll first advise, get my book, From Clueless to Success. I documented my whole journey.
Fantastic.
In
How can we get that?
So there's a link. It's just bit.ly.
Can we find it on your LinkedIn? Can people find it going on your LinkedIn? Okay.
You can find it on my LinkedIn. It's there. Or my Instagram as well.
Okay.
Okay, so going to your question, the job, what we're really doing is this organization has a message that is trying to pass across to a target audience. How do we help them to pass this message across? How do we help them to connect? It's not about selling, because people think that communication is selling. No, you're not selling. You're pushing out a message that draws your audience towards your brand. So if you think about global brands like Coca-Cola and Apple, what draws people to them is not really their product, because I did some research a few weeks ago I'm doing a master's program at the moment. And when people think of the Coke brand, they think about happiness, they think about joy. So Coke is selling Coke, sugar. But people think happiness, people think joy. So that's the power of communication. You're able to draw your audience in, the story exactly you tell. And it can be through different mediums and formats. So when you work with a brand, you have to see what is the essence and core message of this brand. How does it align to the target audience? What are their needs right now? So the target audience for Coke, they don't need sugar, they need hope. Everybody needs hope. So Coke is selling hope. Nike is selling just do it. giving you this belief that you can achieve your dreams no matter what. And that gives you affinity to the brand. So that's what you really do as a communications person. And you do it through different channels, social media, traditional media, events, leveraging relationships with journalists, speaking to the executives, briefing them, so that at every point in time, because again, this is often something that is missing in a lot of startups and businesses, is across all the touch points, are we consistent in the delivery of our message? So you interact with a brand on Instagram, by the time you call them, is it the same company or it's another company?
Absolutely. The next week they've changed their Twitter handle, they've changed their whatever,
and you're a bit confused, or you have this perception of them online, and by the time you walk into their store, you're like, could this be the same brand that is cool online, and their store is, that consistency is often missing. So communications ensures consistency across board in all the touch points.
Phenomenal. Thank you very much. I wish I had more time, Adedoyin, but I hope we can have you back next time, especially to focus on, the work that you do, especially for communicators across the world. Who definitely will be inspired by your story, and maybe to talk about your book as well. Next time we have you on. Thank you so much for coming.
You can also check it on my website, www.adedoyinjaisimi.com.
www.adedoyinjaisimi.com. Thank you very much for being our guest on the program this morning. I do have a fantastic day.
Thank you so much.
All right, so for those who are just tuning in, you missed quite a bit. I've been talking to the Chief Communications Consultant at the Comms Avenue, a capacity building and networking platform for communications professionals. And she does a lot of work in the private sector for brands and, of course, even the public sector to help build communication strategies. That's all I can do today on Beyond the Surface. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. I'm Ronke Giwa Onafuwa.
Splash FM 105.5.
What is this? I thought I asked all of you to drop whatever you have outside there.
I'm sorry, sir. This is Fluco Day. I saw you coughing earlier, so I brought it out for you so you can take it.
Thanks for your kindness, but I'm smarter than that. You think I don't know that every drug that cures cough and catarrh causes drowsiness? So you want me to sleep, Abi?
This is what distinguishes Fluco Day. It does not cause drowsiness.
Nah, drug. I know this drug. It work well. No?
Let me try it. Manufactured by Ovid.
Marketed and distributed by Pharmatex Nigeria Limited. If symptoms persist after 2 days, consult your doctor.
Time up. And you, I said what? Flu.
Fluco Day.
Available in pharmacy shops near you.
ọ̀rẹ́ kí ló ṣe ọ́ tó ń fapá jánu.
koríko ló kún oko pákí àtàgbàdo mi yìí bí mo ṣe ń tú koríko kan bí ìgbà tí méjì tún wò padà ni.
ìyẹn kì í ṣèṣòro rárá. Lagon máa yanjú wọn.
Lagon bíi ti bó.
Lagon jẹ́ oògùn apakoríko nínú oko pákí àti àgbàdo ó sì máa ń yọ àgbẹ̀ nínú wàhálà àti máa roko nígbà gbogbo. Fọ́n Lagon sí oko rẹ ní kété tàbí lẹ́yìn ọjọ́ kan tí o bá ti gbin pákí àtàgbàdo rẹ kí o wá jẹ gbádùn bí bọ́ lọ́wọ́ koríko. Owó tí à ń ta Lagon ò fani lápòyá o kò sì ní atrazine nínú ó sì rọrùn láti lò pẹ̀lú ìdáàbòbò tó péye. Bayer Middle Africa Limited ló ń pín tó sì ń ta Lagon jákèjádò Nàìjíríà. Bayer ìmọ̀ sáyẹ́ǹsì fún ọjọ́ ọ̀la tó dára.
It's game night at the Bensons and everyone's having fun. Then this.
Hey son, what's the matter? You too? No way.
Don't let coughs and the common cold ruin your fun time. Tuxil range of weekly formulated day and night syrups provides effective relief from cough and cold. Product may cause drowsiness. Tuxil, the job gets done when the cough is gone. If symptoms persist after 3 days, consult your doctor.
For a healthy family.
Mommy, my teacher said 90% of my brain will develop by the time I am 5.
Really? What else did she say?
She said I